eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on?
No matter how far you go into the dark, when you flip, you go exactly the same place to the light in our galaxy. Everything. Because everything is in balance. Everything is a polarity.
I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is.
What the hell is going on, everybody? How are you all? Hope you're all doing well. Episode 2 of the Secret Space Program. I'm excited. We're specifically going to be getting into Max Spiers today, which if you know a little bit about Max Spiers, you know that this episode is going to be all kinds of weird. We're going really far down the rabbit hole tonight. Shout out to Tony, who became a member while we were just waiting to get the stream started. So shout out to you, Tony. Welcome to the Members Club. Some love for Tony in the chat, please. And also Macca with the $2 super chat. But also shout out to Macca because he just came in with an absolutely huge support over on the Buy Me a Coffee, which is another place that you can support the channel. And they don't take as much of a cut as Google and YouTube do. Google and YouTube, they really put their hands in your pockets. We'll leave it at that. But how are we all, guys? I think today I want to preface obviously Matrix is on the thumbnail, right? So let's talk about the Matrix quickly. We're going to be starting and ending the stream with people kind of talking about the Matrix, okay? And obviously that's referring to the idea that it's this sort of mental prison that we live in, that we create for ourselves. But after tonight's stream, we are going to be watching the Matrix in Discord. I feel like it's fitting. I've been wanting to watch it for a while. So if you're not already in our Discord, make sure you join. The link is below. Last night after the stream, we watched They Live. And that movie is phenomenal. It's a great movie. It feels like a documentary. If you've seen it, it feels like we're living that right now, to be honest. And also that era of cinema, like that late 80s, early 90s cinema is just chef's kiss. Absolutely awesome. So let's get into today's stream. Suki's here. She's cozy. I've thought about trying to move her camera so you guys can see her a little bit better. But I know that the day that I move her camera, she's never going to lay like that ever again. And she'll change. So we'll try and write it out. But we'll see how we go. Let's, actually, before we go, let's jump over here. Before we get into the show.
Matrix.
Before we get into the first clip of Max Spiers, I'll give you a little bit of a background, just in case you don't know who he is. So Max Spiers was, I guess, like a whistleblower for the Secret Space Program. And this was in I'm going to say between the year 2000 and 2018 when he mysteriously passed away, like a lot of them do. So I just wanted to bring that up first because I think it's important to mention that this guy was sort of talking about this stuff before the whole, Pentagon Tic Tac videos came out. This is before all of that. In fact, it was only a year after that he mysteriously died. And he was found dead in Poland, which is where he's being interviewed by this man right now. In fact, I think the clips that you see from this interview here, I believe, were his last interview, and he was found dead not very long after it, I believe. And just to add some more layers to the conspiracy theory, when he was found dead, it is alleged that he was vomiting up some kind of black liquid. And this was just after attending some kind of, UFO conference or, something like that. So who knows? Who knows what really happened? But I think we all do know that people like Max Spiers and people like Phil Schneider, who are out on the public circuit saying things that are potentially incriminating and potentially reality shattering, usually end up dying. And also he messaged there are text messages to his mum days prior to his death where he was saying basically, I've got it here. Give me a second. He was saying, he was just basically expressing fear for his life and his safety. He thought something was going to happen to him. And then that happened. So, there's that. And I will just preface this by saying, and I said it yesterday as well when we looked at Nyara, I think a lot of people who are lazy thinkers will easily try to write Max off as being like mentally challenged for some reason because of the way that he talks. But let's just, first of all, let's just try and be a little bit more open-minded than that, because that might be the case. It might be. But there are lots of other possibilities here as well, especially because there are lots of people who are talking about this stuff, telling the same story. So let's keep an open mind, because I will say Max does say some things that even I'm a little bit like, ooh, no, that's a tough one. That's a tough one to believe. That's a tough one to swallow. But he also says some other things that are like profound. And I'm like, and it's like, wow, that is very like deep and just like makes a lot of sense. So with that said, make sure you hit a like on the video, get a coffee, have a little stretch, get your juice, your water, whatever you want to drink, and let's get cozy and listen to Max Spiers.
Yeah.
What is real in the film?
I think you can pretty much go to that movie and find a lot of the answers in there. I think there's a lot of answers in there. I think that when that movie came out in 1999, it was a big shift. It was around the eclipse time. There was a huge full solar eclipse in August of 1999, and that's around the time when The Matrix came out, and there was a massive jump in consciousness, human consciousness, and that movie had something big to do with it, because it impacted the world and gave people an understanding, a better understanding. Even if they didn't believe, okay, that is that, it at least gave them the opportunity to muse over it,
In Matrix, there is a moment when this Agent Smith interrogates Neo.
Yeah.
And for half of a second,
Yeah.
they show the driver's license of Neo.
Yes, it says 9/11 on there.
Yeah, 9/11.
This is actually crazy. I saw this the other day. I didn't realize it was in this interview. But The Matrix, which we're going to be watching after the stream, so make sure you join the Discord. Neo's passport in The Matrix, which was released in 1999, the expiry date on it is September 11th, 2001. So there's that.
The validity of the license is till 9/11/2001.
Right. It tells you the date of of the Twin Tower.
Yeah.
I've got about 10 movies where it shows you Back to the Future. There's a whole lot of 9/11 symbolism, because they can't do things like that. Remember, they can't create. These beings can't create. They don't have creative energy force. They don't have it. They have to take others and then do it that way. So they have to. That's called predictive programming. So they're putting these in there to slowly.
Predictive programming, or just a coincidence? I think that's actually coincidence number 7,563.
Slowly condition the mind to accept the fact that the towers were going to fall, and then they did. You couldn't just do it. They have to get us to do it. They essentially had to make us make the towers fall, because they can't do that.
Can they go to this heart chakra? Actually, do the reptilians have chakras and different?
I don't know the chakra system of them. I don't know. I don't. They see most of the attributes of the heart chakra as weaknesses, though, and vulnerabilities. So they would. I would.
They
think,
perceive us as weak because we have emotions
Yes.
and different states.
Yes, and they also perceive us as weaker because we have to change form and change our body as we go through the years. They don't. They've had the same physical form through millions of years.
So they're talking about reptilians, by the way, in case you missed that. And there is a lot of that in today's video. So either get excited or run away, depending on what your vibe is. But it's interesting how, and I have talked about this before, it's interesting how they talk about reptilians or reptile-like brains see empathy as a weakness. Because I'm pretty sure Elon Musk has said that almost word for word. I'm pretty sure Elon Musk has publicly said that like our empathy holds us back. And like in a way, he is right. Like he is right in terms of like, I guess, technological innovation and like progression. But it's like, is that everything? I don't know.
So, and they think that we're weaker because of that. This current war, and I've noticed like a really, really big anti-God movement at the moment. Like it's coming on really, really, really strongly. They're pushing internal self. So like governed by self, which is the 666 symbol. 666 is just a number of man. Any act for self is 666. So I've seen that pushing it. They're trying to usher in the new eon. They're trying to get rid of the Christian era. I think that was when Crowley started that in 1913 with the Book of the Law.
He's talking about Aleister Crowley there. I don't know if you missed that because he didn't say Aleister, but that's who he is referring to here, which is interesting because I've done videos on this stuff that like Crowley and the stuff that he was interested in, like the Hermeticism, it feels like that was the conduit. Well, yeah, it feels like that was the conduit into bringing this into like where it is today from these like ancient mystery schools and whatnot. Yeah, Peter Thiel seems like a big problem. I agree. By the way, I missed a $5 from Jeff. He says, love this topic. Thanks, Josh. My pleasure, man. Thank you for the support. Thanks for being here.
And kill off that and then start the new eon of Horus. And it's very interesting to me because I don't know. So before the eon of Horus, there was the eon of Osiris, and before that, the eon of Isis. Eon of Isis was a matriarchal worship, and then the eon of Osiris was the worshipping of or male domination, and was sort of still in that. Now we're going into the eon of Horus, which is the child. So it's child energy, child heart. That's what the eon. So I was thinking about it myself the other day. What's wrong with that? What's wrong? Cycles are cycles. We're cycling through We're always cycling through. That's cyclical is how it works here. So why?
Just reminding you guys that these clips are mildly sped up. Okay, I do that just to kind of keep the flow going, but this is at like 1.25x. So, he doesn't normally speak this quickly.
Why is it that that the other two eons were all right, and this new one is so particularly bad?
The Christianity was started by the Roman Empire, and now we still have the Roman Empire under different names, like Vatican, United States.
Yes.
Well, so they want to exchange it for a different religion.
Yeah. Okay. They want. I mean, they want a whole one world system set up, right? One world religion, one world government, one world army.
Money.
That was a gold bug. Yeah, exactly. A whole system, centralized system, which would be more. Would be more efficient.
Next Reich.
Depopulation, and then a centralized system. But they want an androgynous people. They want an androgynous because they want to be able to have both, so that they can have both in one body. They want to have that. That's why they're pushing the feminization of man, the emasculation of women, and the Bruce Jenner thing is all predictive programming and conditioning and showing you that look what we can do.
It's interesting. Again, remember, this is like, I don't know the year of this. I'm going to say it's like 2016, 2017-ish. And, the demasculation of men has definitely like increased since this point. So what the point I'm trying to make is like, what he said was obviously already happening, but I think it's come to fruition even more so, that there is this like pull to make women less feminine and men less masculine, to like pull us into some kind of like equal soy boy, femboy thing, where we're just kind of like, we're not really women, but we're not really men either. We're all just kind of this weird hybrid gender.
So
just quickly, Cookie with a $5, my man, welcome. He says, how's everyone doing? Y'all already know the drill, sparking it up for those who can. Hope you all have a good day. Much love. Shout out Cookie. Shout out P. Shaw the cat. Hope you're doing well, man. Thank you.
The child in the morning can wake up and decide, I don't want to be a boy anymore. I want to be a girl.
I know. Right. This is a lot of MK though. These are mind controlled. These kids have been mind controlled to do that.
kids and also societies.
Sure.
Like in Alaska, it happens.
In Alaska?
Yeah, I heard that.
Huh. Really?
In the schools, it is pushed so much that the school director cannot say anything against if the boy says, "I'm a girl." That's it.
Really?
I'm not for sure, but
it's very fascinating.
Okay, for the wrap up, maybe something.
Just before we keep going, we've only got about 2 minutes left of this clip, but a huge $50 chat, and they've just ripped the #1 chatter straight out of the hands of whoever was before. Debatable Facts with $50 says, great content. Glad you can do this full time. Looking forward to your coverage of future revelations 2026, 2027. Let's go. Let's go, man. Thank you. That's huge. That really is. Thank you for the support.
More positive, because there were some negative.
Well, the positive thing about all of this is that it is coming to an end, and this consciousness is getting to a position where it has to give up. It has to give up. It doesn't have a choice anymore.
It's low.
Because because the vibration of the planet here is raising so fast that it's going to hold on as long as it can, because to give up the power that it's had for so long. And remember, this war, and I've said it before, is between the priests and the scientists. Mm-hmm. This is an ongoing war between the priest faction and the scientists. The scientists worship the self and the internal, and the priests worship the spiritual, like the spiritual God, right? Mm-hmm. So this is the war that's going on. Even the massive atheism movement, which is tied up with a bow, which really is Satanism. Really, there's lots of parallels. They're dressing up these new sort of named philosophies, which are basically modern Satanism. Anyway, the vibration of this planet is raising very, very fast, very quickly, and as it does, there's going to be a period of chaos, because there has to be. As it raises, we're going to start seeing things for what they really look like, and they don't look like this.
I mean, that's like, again, remember, guys, this is like 10 years ago. This is 10 years ago that he's saying this stuff, and like, yeah, it really feels like what he's saying is true. People are going to wake up. People are going to see it for what it really is. And I think they are. That's why I'm here. That's why you're here watching this stream, because people around the world are going, hang on a sec, what the actual fuck is going on here? And that's like, this is it. This is it. And I think this is just such an awesome little part here from Max. And like I said, last night we watched They Live in Discord. That's literally what this is. When we were watching it, people were saying like, oh, this is a nice documentary. Yeah, feels like it.
So for some people, the majority of people, it's going to be a bit of panic for a minute there. But I think that there are people here put in place, sleeper agents as well, to know what to do at the exact time. I believe I programmed myself a long time ago to know where to be and what to do at a certain time. I trust my intuition very, very well, and I know I'm being guided and helped out all the time. Mm-hmm. All the time.
There you go. I'm your sleeper agent. I'm your sleeper agent, activating, ready to take the weirdos through this shift. It definitely, I've always said though, that like no shift is ever smooth, right? In anything in life, when you have to move house, when you get started a new job, like you don't just leave your job, go to your new job, and it's like seamless. You know, it's a bit weird. You gotta find where do I park at my new place? What's my new route to work? Where do I sit? What are my coworkers like? You gotta adjust. It's a bit uncomfortable. That's what we're going through right now on like a galactic scale. It's a bit uncomfortable. Kind of feels a bit chaotic. People aren't sure what's going on. But I do believe that on the other side, it'll be much better. It's just a little bit of turbulence. All right. This next one is an older interview with the same guy. We're kind of going to be jumping from clips between these interviews, and I do have a couple of little bonus clips to look at, depending on what kind of time we're at the end of the stream.
So these cycles that have gone on, I could give you 10 other ones of the same principle. So the sun is born on winter solstice.
Yes.
Then he's betrayed in Ishtar in Easter.
Yes.
Okay, and then he is brought back to life, and then he stands. So the cycle is
1 year cycle.
Birth, betrayal, rebirth, birth, betrayal,
rebirth, and
death, rebirth. Yes, yeah. This is the magic of this cycle that we live in. If you can align yourself, this is why the religions do what they do.
It's interesting because he's like talking about, like, again, it's like as above, so below in a way. Like this is the cycle of our individual lives, like this whole death and rebirth thing, but it also applies to the sun as well. The sun goes through this kind of same cycle in day and night, and then it extrapolates out, probably extrapolates inward too.
Because you can align yourself with the power that goes with that. There's a lot of power to be taken from that. So when you have I'm trying to think of it. The royalty and the presidents, and their Christianity, and they're not actually worshiping that. They're worshiping the ancient under the guise
yes.
of that. Well, they're worshiping Set. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Isis and Horus is Mother Mary and Jesus.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. And Set would be Lucifer. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And
let's not forget that Polarity local and best friend of the channel, Michael Aquino, started the Temple of Set. That was his kind of new age spiritual version of Satanism, and it was called the Temple of Set. And, you know, a lot of people actually try to defend that guy, surprisingly, and I'm open to hearing a good defense of him, but I'm skeptical. I mean, you know, when you're doing black magic in Heinrich Himmler's horror castle, I'm going to be a little sus, okay? I'm going to be a little bit sus on you when you're doing stuff like that. Forgive me. $5 from Philo, I'm not sure how to say that one. He says, I have a construction site in the so-called fairy tale forest. Wish me luck that I see elves or ETs. I wish you good luck, man. Hopefully you don't get abducted. And Paris Diamonds with a $5 says, when was the last time you listened and followed your intuition? Think. Yes, Paris. Say it louder for the people in the back. People need to start tuning in and recognizing your intuition. Stop asking Grok. Grok is not your intuition. Grok isn't going to be able to tell you what's right for you, okay? That's becoming a hive mind, which Max is actually going to talk about. Okay, if you start relying on AI to do your thinking, you become part of the hive mind brain. You become like an ant serving a queen ant. Literally. Like, wake up, meditate, start to recognize that voice in your head that is actually like guiding you through shit, and you probably find things in your life start to go a lot smoother. I'm actually going to do, I'm overdue for a members only video. I think I'm going to do an episode of After Dark, maybe tomorrow or very soon, for the members, where I'm going to kind of talk a little bit more about that and kind of like religion in general, and maybe throw out a couple of theories. It'll be a weird one.
This one eye on the top of the pyramid.
That's his eye.
The same.
Yeah, it's also mocking.
Mm-hmm. And also, we are watching you, Big Brother.
Sure. It's like okay. It's like this. It's like they took his eye because Horus is much more powerful than all of these beings. But it's like we took his eye, we put it up there, and we're using the good, his eye, to watch you. So it's double mock. Double. Evil.
Okay, so who are the Anunnaki today? Because we also have the reptilian bloodlines.
The Anunnaki are partially reptilian. They're partially reptilian. They have reptilian traits. Remember, there's about 6 or 7 different reptilian species on the planet, and they're all in a caste order, and they're very, very strict caste order, and they have no problem if you do not follow a rule or if you do not do what you are supposed to. They see all of their kind as expendable. if something's not done right. And even if it is, even if you do continue to do what you're supposed to do, if you have no benefit to them anymore, they will get rid of you. So what they're trying to do is they have to have all these Goetian demonic entities are living disincarnate. They don't have bodies, right? They don't have bodies right now.
Do I think he's on the gear? I mean, it depends what you mean by gear, first of all. But I don't think he's on like some kind of, I don't think he's on crack or like, meth or anything like that. I think if anything, he might be taking some kind of like anti-anxiety medication or some kind of medication for people who have like PTSD like symptoms and have been through trauma. So I think at the same as like when we looked at the clip of Juliette Bryant, okay, the Epstein survivor, kind of gives off similar vibes, right? And I think it's just like a murky ground because if what they're saying is true, they're obviously going to have like symptoms of trauma, right? They're survivors of something horrible happening to them. So, forgive them for speaking a little bit funny. You know what I mean? Forgive them for getting a bit agitated as they relive the horrible nightmare they experience. You know what I'm saying? So we need to be mindful of that. Again, I'm not saying that's the case, but yeah, maybe they are taking stuff to help with the trauma they've been through. It's just like, I think it's just lazy thinking to see someone who talks a little bit weird and be like, oh, he's on the gear. He's on drugs. It's just like, okay, bro, let's not be cavemen. Let's just expand our minds a little bit, stay open to some more possibilities. Stevie, my man, with $8 says, been in the space for years, but never heard of this guy. Thanks, Josh. He also seems completely overwhelmed. Yeah, and just remember, guys, the clips are sped up a little bit, okay? So you just remember that.
Some of them do. Okay, but not all of them. So they need. So I believe that some of these projects were put together to create a physical body. So when the time comes, that they can put this disincarnate body into the physical body.
Mm-hmm. Like one of the 42.
Possibly, I don't know. Possibly.
Okay. Let's go back to the to this world today. It seems to be some kind of opposition between the Jewish people, whatever they are, Sephardic or
the Zionists,
the others, the Zionists together, and the other one was Aryans or Slavic people. Mm-hmm. How do you perceive this?
How do I perceive what?
This opposition.
It
goes on for thousands of years.
Okay, I'll explain. Okay, so, but I'm not sure. I'll do my best. The Jewish race. I mean, but it's so difficult because the Jews that we know of now only go back a few thousand years. This particular line, this Jewish line, goes back 50,000 years, Atlantean time. They weren't called Jews then.
Of course.
Yeah. So whatever. This line has a high reptilian DNA in it. Okay. The Aryan line. There's been for hundreds of thousands of years. These two have fought. These two
opposing.
Yes, have fought because this one particular reptilian line wants the DNA from the Aryan line, and I'm not saying that the Aryans are all good. They're plenty bad and have done plenty of atrocious things throughout time. But this reptilian line is looking for specific DNA to take from them so that they can maintain at least a half decent human looking form in 3D. Mm-hmm.
That's a big part of the. Basically, he's saying that like the wars that he will go deeper soon, but he's basically saying that like the wars that are going on Earth are actually between reptilians and Nordics and have been going on for like far longer than we realize, and we are kind of caught up in the middle of it with certain select parts of like the Jewish community, the Jewish race, are sort of somehow tied into reptilians, and the Nordics are, or the Aryans, the Aryans are tied in with like Caucasian European looking people. And that is actually like the reason why we can't stop fighting, which is, I mean, a crazy theory, but also it's like, I mean, I don't want to say it makes sense, but like, you know, the age-old question is, why can't we actually stop fighting? Like, you know, there's all these different religions that people have been arguing over for thousands of years. But like, surely people have worked out by now that you're all just, you all believe in God. You all believe that there's a God. You're just calling it something different because you're from a different part of the world and you have a different cultural lens. Like, surely you guys have worked that out by now. You all believe in the same thing. You just interpret it differently. But no, apparently not. We still want to go and kill each other about it. So, you know, that to me sounds like there's something else going on. Yoza, you absolute legend. You just gifted 5 new memberships out to some very lucky people. Guys, if you got a membership from Yoza, make sure you say thank you. And can we get lots of love and hearts for all of our new weirdos? Welcome, guys. You got new members videos you can check out. And there's a members only section of our Discord as well.
Okay.
So that line had Lemuria, and the Aryans had Atlantis, and Thoth or Toth ruled for 50,000 years pre the cataclysm that happened 13,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
The elite, and a lot the high level Masons know a lot of this information. They know this information, and they got very upset with me. Speaking about it the last time I did, they got very upset with me about that. Venus, for example, is in astrology. Let's go. Astrology I like very much and studied astrology for a long time. Is known as the planet of love, and it's associated with love and
femininity.
Yes, but first of all, let's look at the word. Okay, so you have V, which is feminine, and then you have Enos. Okay, so what you have there is an amalgamation or a mixture of male and female in one word. Okay,
so it's like, it's little things like that I guess make sense, but it's like, is there actually something to it? Like what? Like is that just a coincidence? You know, like, it's like, is there really like deep meaning in literally everything? Because I do think, again, to try and stay like balanced here, I do think that people who are kind of have experienced trauma and therefore their sort of mind begins to, you know, flirt with the realm potentially of like schizophrenia and things like that, it's a symptom that they begin to sort of see patterns, faces in things. Like, this is a thing, right? So it's just like, again, some of the things that Max says, I don't discount any of it. I stay open-minded, but you know, there are some things like that where he's saying like the word Venus, and he actually goes on to make a really great point about Venus here. But the fact that, you know, he's sort of like V is the feminine, Enos sounds like penis. Like, yeah, okay. I don't know if that is actually a thing though, but yes, you are right at the same time. You know what I mean? It's a tough one.
Venus is in fact known as the morning star, because it's the star in the morning that's the brightest, right? Yes. Who's also known as the morning star?
Jesus.
That's inverted. Lucifer is known as the morning star.
Serious?
No. Lucifer is known as the morning star. Okay. Yes. How bright are you? There's. I would show you if I could put it up. I would explain it. I would show you it. Yes. So Lucifer is known as the morning star. It's funny because they interchange Jesus and Lucifer so much, and everybody gets it in their head that this is this and this is this. But then that's duality for you. This parasitic consciousness that rules here doesn't care what you buy into. It doesn't care if you buy into this religion, that religion, any religion. As long as you buy into it, and as long as you put everything you've got into it, they're fine with that. Because it then maintains this dual fighting thing. Like, you know, you're wrong, I'm right, you're wrong, I'm right, or like this. And by doing that, it maintains the dual. Everything is vibrating, right? Like vibrating like this. So to maintain a 3D vibrational state, you have to have
Duality.
Yes, you have. Well, you have to make sure that you have black and white, and you have to have two things fighting against each other. If there weren't two things fighting against each other, this would cease to be solid anymore.
That sounds a lot like the entire political system that we live in. If there wasn't two groups fighting each other, we would ascend. It's almost like it's done on purpose. Do you see what I mean? Like he will say stuff about, Venus, V is female, Enos is male. And it's like, oh, I'm not sure. But then he goes on to drop some absolute bombs about the fact that, like, the very nature of competing ideologies is the very essence of what keeps us locked into the way that we are. Like that disagreement is the lock. Like that's it. And that if we were to like remove that and we were all sort of vibrating and going in the same direction with the same kind of intention, we would literally like elevate entirely as a species. You know what we'd also do? We would also like no longer like relinquish our power to these like retarded and jaded and relic fossil control systems that are played out over society right now. Like that's literally what it takes, is everyone to stop like identifying themselves with their political party, right? Because it's funny, right? When you say, let's just say like someone like a right-wing politician or whatever does something dumb that just kind of screws everyone, all right? A left-wing person could be like, hey, that person's a dick. Why did he do that? Then a right-wing person will like take that personally because that's the political party that they identify with. It's like, brother, you got screwed too. Like, we're on the same team. Don't you realize that? Like, we are not them. And it's like literally just that simple little shift in your perspective that I think, well, not just your perspective, in everyone's perspective, it has to happen, which is easier said than done. But once that flips, people aren't going to allow things to be the way they are. No shot.
It would raise its vibration and we wouldn't be stuck here. So it's imperative for this particular consciousness to maintain war or disagreement at all times.
Mm-hmm. So
they're doing a pretty good job of that.
That's why the Jewish people, actually those headquarters, those chiefs of the Jewish people, maintain this hate against them. Like they teach the children.
There you go. Exactly why.
That
yes.
Everybody around the world is anti-Semitic.
Yes.
And we need to fight anti-Semitism.
Yes. It's a very clever way, another clever way to maintain the dualistic construct here. Yes. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I mean, he's making a really good point there. It's a fantastic point. But Mick says, surely this is more in reference to America. Aussies don't give too much fuss to politics. I think that's a bit of a generalization, Mick. I think, first of all, you've got way more people in America, right? Like way more people. So obviously their political problems and everything is just going to naturally feel bigger and spill over more. But I think comparatively, like pound for pound in terms of our country's numbers versus theirs, I don't think we're as far behind them as you would think. I think it actually comes down to the fact that they just have way more people. Yeah. But also, we're like equally as tied up in American politics as much as our own too. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
4D, which they do actually still have control of, less control of it. There's no time, so there's no time in between where thought and then physical manifestation happens. So now, if I want to go get a drink of water, then I have to stand up, go there, turn the tap on, pour it in, come back, drink it. If I in 4D, I want to have the sensation of it. I manifest the sensation of it, and I have it. Mm-hmm. So I can be and do whatever I want to do there. But they do have control. Believe it or not, there's a 4D police force. There's an army and a police force there. So that you don't get out of control, because the potential in 4D is, limitless. Now then you have 5D, which is then they don't have control of completely. The 5D is the angelic realms. the perhaps you would say the archangelic realms. It's where the archangels hang out. And they come down here. Obviously, they don't. You know, it's difficult for the archangels to be in physical bodies because it's very restrictive for them to be there. But yes, but they do.
Speaking of archangels, I'm going to be talking to Lifting the Lamp this weekend. If I've covered him on the channel before, but if you don't know who he is the guy who drew the diagram, which is called the Sigillum Deum, that Matthew Brown referenced in his, tweet to Elon Musk. He's Aussie. I'm not sure where he's from, but he's Aussie. So I'm going to be talking to him this weekend. I'm going to be opening up a channel in the Discord for members if they want to drop their questions in. Now, I'm not going to guarantee your question will get asked, but drop them in there and I'll do my best and see what we can get to. $15 from Susie. Thank you, Susie. She says, for all that you do, may every cent keep you propelling forward. I rarely watch streaming services now. Your shows are food for my brain. Thank you. Thank you, Susie. I appreciate that, and I'm glad you're enjoying the shows. And Sudi, hopefully I'm saying that right, $30. That's a big one. Look for corroboration of what Max says in others who have been in these programs. When you get the same info from people who can each pass the vibe check, then what? Can people face the fact that most of our reality paradigm is lies? Yeah, well, that is, funnily enough, what Matthew Brown said, that our reality is a lie. It's a controlled, manipulated lie. And it's increasingly does seem that way. And you're right. And this is what I lean into, right? When, it's not just Max Spiers for me. It's not just Nyara Eiley, who we looked at yesterday. It's the whole group of them. And yeah, you could say Max or, whoever else, or maybe they seem a little bit agitated. Maybe they seem like they're on drugs or whatever like that. And maybe they are. But to me, it's like, these people are all independently from around the world, all saying the same crazy story. So whether it's actually real or happening in like 3D reality, or these people are all having the same like wild hallucination about like Nazi secret space programs and aliens and reptilians and shit. Like, even if it is just something that's happening in their head, still, what the hell is that? And why is that happening? And why are they saying that, like, I was, like Nyara says that she was like sexually abused multiple times by the military while she was in the US Air Force. Like, why are people saying these things if they're not true? Because they're not being platformed by mainstream places. It's not disinformation. If it was disinformation, it'd be on the news or it'd be in the UAP Congress hearing. You know what I mean? Like, these people are hard to find and they're all saying this crazy shit. Like, I'm not saying it's true, but it's like, what is going on there is what I'm saying.
Everybody who has been here throughout history is now incarnated here, and we're all here for the final battle now on Earth, on Heart. Everybody who's ever been here before is back now, and there is no time to fence sit anymore. You choose a side, or you sort of die. You choose this side, or you choose the dark, or you choose the light. That's that.
Okay. Damn, that's like a rally call. That's like something that they would say, to like in 300 before the Spartans go to war. Damn, that's got me pumped up a little bit.
So this duality was also reinforced in the 20th century by so-called Holocaust.
Yes.
Which was organized by the Jews themselves.
Right.
Rothschild, Bauer,
right.
Bush.
Okay, the Bauer Bush family, yes.
Okay, yes. And yesterday you said that the Bush was the Bauer family,
yes.
But we know also that Bauer was the name of the Rothschild. So
yes.
How do you explain that?
Because they're tricksters, and they a lot of the Jews that claim to be hardcore Jews are in fact Nazis.
Yes, of course. They organized everything.
I'm talking about in the media, in the mainstream entertainment industry, the ones who, some of the ones who, I'm not going to say names, the ones who claim to be hardcore Jews and who look very, very Jewish are in fact not Jewish at all. They are working on the side of the Fourth Reich.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's think about that. That's a crazy statement, first of all. But it's interesting, right? I have actually. Okay, let's just talk about the Nazis first. I have always found it so interesting how, like, what's the word? I can't think of the word. Help me out, guys. Like, how you just can't talk about Nazis. Like, you can't even, like, have a swastika as, like, a joke, right? Now, that might, some people might think that's crazy that I just said that. But to me, it's like, bro, just because there's a swastika doesn't, like, I'm not trying to be a Nazi. I'm not saying I would have a swastika, like, on my car or some shit. I'm saying, like, you can't even, like, wear it as, like, a dress up for Halloween. Like, you can't. It's, the symbol is just so, like, scary. It seems weird, is what I'm getting at, right? It seems like abnormal. It seems abnormal. Why are we so scared of it? It's out of bounds. It's like totally out of bounds. And so is, like, I'm going to say anti-Semitism, but I'm going to expand on that. Just relax, put your Doritos down. With anti-Semitism, it's like you can't question it. Like, if you feel like maybe, again, and, you know, again, let's go back to what we said before. If you said something about what you feel like the Jewish, Mossad agents, the Jewish intelligence community, Jewish government, perhaps, if you were to question that, you're being anti-Semitic, right? Well, you're being told that you're being anti-Semitic, which is obviously not true, because it's nothing about Jewish people. Regular Jewish people are on our team. We're all people are on the same team. We're questioning control structures. We're questioning global elite. And these people just have to be from somewhere, right? They have to be from somewhere. And if they're from Israel, it's almost as taboo as, like, wearing a swastika as a joke for Halloween. It's, like, out of bounds. That's weird to me. Like, we're all human. We should be able to, like, you know, question things. Like, questioning isn't dissent. Questioning isn't even criticism. It's, like, normal, right? You should be able to question things. You know, we're allowed to question, like, the Chinese government. In fact, the media does it. The media does it for us. But when we question, like, maybe the Jewish government and, like, what their involvement is and what they're kind of doing and what was Jeffrey Epstein doing, and, like, it seems like the world is run by pedophiles. When you question that, no, that's anti-Semitic. And don't you talk about them Nazis either. What I'm getting at is, I'm just saying what Max said there, where he sort of was talking about these two, like, you know, competing ideologies that we really can't question or talk about more than, like, anything else. Yay has entered the chat. Fair play, Stevie. I like that one.
But the Fourth Reich already exists on Mars and
sure,
in the solar system.
And they pretty much have the moon down. They have the moon.
By the way, if anything I just said then, like, upset you or bothered you, I'd just like to apologize to absolutely nobody. Get out of here.
Under control.
But not the whole moon, because there are many other races.
Yes, but they are up there in terms of control. Mm-hmm. It's, you know, and it's not a natural satellite. Mm-hmm. It's a ship. It's actually like the Death Star from Star Wars. Mm-hmm. Mm.
So, okay, the whole moon thing is one thing, right? The fact that he says the moon is actually is the Death Star. That's such a wild conspiracy theory. But again, he's not the only one to talk about that, right? I think even Jason Giorgiani, who we looked at in the last episode, I don't actually have any Giorgiani clips today. I probably should have. He pretty much says the same thing. And you guys know that I really appreciate the native cultures all around the world. And I think the Native Americans talk about this. I know we're going to dive into Credo Mutua soon. We're going to look at that interview. But he talks about the time before the moon was here. Like, it just arrived. we'll save that for that video. We'll keep moving with this one. But, you know, the idea that the moon is not actually just some like rock that follows us around without rotating, is not just a Max Spiers thing.
In all words, there's truth hidden in all words, and in the phonetic sounding of the words, and in the writing of the words too. If you look at the word Zion, you just change a vowel around, and you have and switch the letters around, and you have Nazi. You have the word Nazi.
Okay, again, just like the Venus thing, this is like one of those moments where I'm like, are you finding things where there maybe isn't things, right? But again, he actually goes on to make some decent points. I don't believe that they were always running with each other. I do believe they were at odds. This is a war that stems back 50,000 years. They just weren't called Nazis and Zionists. That's just a modern day nom that that they're using. But so yes, but I believe because they have the same agenda. I think maybe reaching, yeah,
because they both have the same. They both want to implement or put into place the new world order that they're sort of working together now and doing, working in alignment with each other, but in fight, because people with egos or beings with egos like that will always infight and will always betray the other, but are aligned. I would say aligned. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if divide and conquer is their thing, division is their thing. To control, for someone to control something completely, you have to always control both sides. So if you want to control a football match, you've got to make sure that you have control, not just the best team. You've got to have control of both the teams. And so the principle is, they're working like this, but maybe shouting at each other on the way.
So if these are two groups, it means that they have someone over them.
There's always a single. There's always.
Harudo says, I think this guy is tuned into something, but it's stretching. He is stretching way too much to try and make sense of it. I think that's a great point. And that's kind of what I mentioned earlier, is that like, people who have been through this stuff. I mean, I think most of us know by now, right, that trauma expands your mind if you deal with it correctly, right? Trauma is the catalyst for like an expanded awareness. You either get an expanded awareness or you become a victim and you just live in this like low vibrational me against the world state, right? That's literally the only two options you have when you go through trauma. That's the only way it ends, right? And I think sometimes when people have been through a lot of trauma, their mind expands so much that they do seem to, tap into something that I believe there is something to it, whether you want to maybe call it like the Akashic, I don't know. But I also do agree that like when you're flirting with the realm of like almost schizophrenia in a way, like, yeah, like I said before, it seems like they maybe do see things where there isn't, but that doesn't mean discredit everything else that they say, I don't think personally. But that's why it's good to watch this and talk about it and maybe highlight the things that seem a little bit, I don't know, but also try and keep an open mind with the other stuff as well. Because like I said, Max, he does spit some absolute facts in this, but he also says some pretty wild shit that's kind of hard to digest as well.
There's a single consciousness at the top. One and then down, pyramid. Mm-hmm. But there's always a single consciousness. I say consciousness, not being or entity, because it's a consciousness, because these consciousnesses are so, if that's a word, consciousnesses are so powerful that they work through thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of different bodies at once. So I can't really call it he or she or it. It's many things.
Hive mind?
Sure. Queen bee, hive mind. Yeah.
Okay, Pindar is over there?
Right. Well, that would be, Pindar would be the go-between between the underground crew and the overground crew. The underground ones work anything below.
Get in the chat if you know what Pindar is, because Pindar is like an entity or a being that they're referring to, but I have no idea. I don't even think I've heard the word before. So if anyone knows what Pindar is, Pindar, get in the chat, let me know.
Is anything underground is working subconscious. So they do all the subconscious work below ground. Anything above ground is the conscious mind, because that's just the nature of the philosophy of that. So he is would be the go-between from the subconscious to the conscious mind. So he will be given orders or will be told what to do from the subgroup, and then will go and then deal with and then implement. They have structured 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 15 year, and 30 year plan sets that they follow, and he sort of puts that together. I suppose you sort of could call him maybe like an archetypical Luciferian sort of character. That's sort of in my mind sort of how I see it.
Okay, you said under and over, so explain. There
Is this mythology? Do you mean history?
underground bases
Underground bases, sure, yes.
and
But underground world, an entire world. It's hollow, isn't it? The Earth is hollow, so it's not an entire world. Oceans and
many
jungles.
bases under oceans,
Yeah.
underground, like under the city of London.
Yeah, the CLC-1 base.
Okay.
Again, just reminding you, in case anyone's new, this video was filmed before the TTSA 3 Pentagon videos came out, and they're talking about underground bases under the ocean as well. Okay, these are all things that are like becoming more and more commonly accepted. This is way before people were really saying that kind of stuff.
What is there?
That's all the financial moves for the entire planet are done in the CLC-1 base. That's where, I mean, there's also military training, and military ops training programs that go on there as well. But primarily the money moves are done there.
And Pindar physically is a human being or something else?
He can be like anything he wants to be.
Okay.
Yeah,
Shapeshifts.
but anything. Because he has.
Okay, according to the chat, Pindar has about 700 different meanings. So I think we can probably just settle on the fact that we aren't sure what Pindar is in reference to what Max is talking about.
So to be able to do that, you'd have to have a complete understanding of DNA codes. And once you do understand how DNA codes lock and unlock, it's not actually that difficult to do that. So
in 3D?
Yes. If you want, I don't understand how to do it. But if you do, once you do, you can. You could be anything. You could be any object.
You know the name Elena Kapulnik?
Not too well, but I've heard it. Yeah.
She's a super soldier, and she met through her astral body. She contacted Queen Elizabeth, and the Queen told her that she's 7,000 years old reptilian.
Right.
How would you comment that?
Yeah, no, I would probably agree with that. I don't know
Oh shit. We're going down this road.
the specifics like you said, but I mean I wouldn't doubt that. And body jumping from body to body. When the body wears out, jump to the next body through eye transfer. So they'll take the point of death of the person. They'll draw the energy from the eyes and then take the soul. The soul comes out through the eyes, and then you can go in through the eyes
of a child.
Yes.
And replace the
switch
soul.
it up. Yeah, and keep that one. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I'm sure people in the chat already know. I'm sure there are people in the chat whose head is where my head is, and we're about to look at that. They're saying that these beings basically can extract their soul and their essence and their consciousness from a body through the eyes and put it into a new, younger body, and you still remain like as who you are with your memories and everything like that. That's what he's saying, okay? Just before we get into that point, $8 from Sudi. She says, as for Pindar, Ike translates the name as meaning penis of the dragon and states that the Pindar is also known as the Marquis of Lebeau. I don't know what that last thing is, but if David Icke says it, it must be true. No, I think if Icke has a reference to it, I would assume that is what Max Spiers is talking about. But again, I don't actually know. Okay, so we just heard about Max Spiers talking about, well, he talked about the Queen, first of all, and that they are lizard people, and that they can extract their consciousness through people's eyes and implant it into younger beings, and maintain their soul. Kind of makes me think about this. What do you guys think? I mean, we've all seen this stuff, right? It's kind of weird, isn't it? How the royals and the elite often seem to pop up with these weird black eyes. I don't know. It could just be a coincidence. How many black eyes have you guys had in your life? I reckon I've probably had one. Or maybe two. Definitely not more than three. And I would say two of them were from accidents, like getting hit by something by accident. Right? And then you got this, because it's not just the royals. It's a lot of the people who are in Hollywood, politics. You know, some of the people that you see here could just genuinely have black eyes for sure. I'm sure that is the case. In fact, I would definitely say it is. But I mean, it's still just an interesting little statistic here. Yeah, I won't go too much further into that. Maybe we'll save that for the members only video tomorrow. But I just thought, you know, we'd show this because I'm sure we've all seen it before. And yeah, who's punching him? Who's punching Barack Obama? Who's punching Pope Francis? What's Pope Francis doing that's giving him a black eye? He's definitely not getting in punch-ups in high school, that's for sure. And it does always seem to be on the same side, yes. It's very weird. Very, very strange. But again, that would make that, I think, coincidence 6,354. So that is the likely answer.
The awareness level also stays. The awareness level stays. So she would not lose her memories like we do. When we go through our cycle, we have amnesia.
So she remembers everything from 7,000
years? Yes, full memory, yeah.
The topic of addictions of the reptilians. Like humans have some addictions like alcohol, drugs, sugar, this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Reptilians have different...
Are addicted to fear?
Addictions, yeah.
Right.
Addiction to torture, to this energy. So please explain.
Okay, so putting a human being into a low vibrational state by creating a circumstance in their life that puts them into a depressive state would then give off an energy that they like, because they like the sadness, fear, trauma, and especially tears. So somebody, you know, with their head in their hands crying is the energy is called Loosh, Loosh, and it's very, very high powered energy. So for them, very, very, very. So they would somehow calculate an event, even in dreams. I mean, I've had dreams where I've been crying in a dream, and I know that the 4D it's been mixed and done so that would happen.
You guys realize that what he's saying there is like exactly what Tom DeLonge said after he was... I don't know what happened to Tom DeLonge, man. That's exactly what Tom DeLonge said after he became heavily involved with the intelligence agencies. Let's just say that. That the others... And it's never been described who or what the others are, right? But the others feed on our negative energy, right? And when you look at the way we are pushed to consume and constantly chase more, like we aren't enough, like we're not enough unless we have like a nice new car and like a hot girlfriend and like a nice big house and a good watch and lots of friends, like and a six pack, obviously, right? You got to have a six pack and pecs or you're a loser, dude. So if you don't have all those things, you're going to be feeling like anxious and like you're not enough. And let's not forget, 6 p.m. every night, you can tune into any news station to just let you know how hard life is and how expensive life is and how much war there is in the world and how much crime there is in your local area. Okay, so there's all these things here that seem like they might be trying to keep us in some form of negative frequency. Just my observation. And then you've got Max here, and you've got people like Tom DeLonge saying that there are the others that feed on our negativity. And funnily enough, we watched a movie last night in Discord called They Live, where there is literally a spell cast, a frequency cast over the population that stops them being like awake and able to see what the hell is actually going on around them. But then once they do, it's like they realize that they're living in like hell, basically. So I don't know. Coincidence 6,355? I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, so they're addicted to doing that. They're also addicted to the...
Sorry, just quickly. Sudi again, $8 says Pindar is the Lizard King, reptilian leader, and has a human body, apparently. I love the way you dropped apparently at the end of that. You can't say that. Like, you can't say that without putting like a little, I don't know, on the end. Like, you just can't. You can't tell me that, you can't tell anyone that Pindar is the Lizard King without also following that up with like, but I'm not sure, do your own research. Like, that's a massive do your own research statement, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
Adrenochrome, which is in the blood, which when you bring a human being to the highest state of fear that it can be in, the most extreme state of fear, chemical is run through the body called adrenochrome. And if, it's not a nice topic, but if the blood is then got from them at that point, that chemical adrenochrome is inside the blood.
Yes.
So you take that, and if that is consumed, the high from the adrenochrome is the highest high that you can get. So that is sold on the black market. It's black. Satanists sell it.
So that's why they do those rituals.
Yes, but that's one of the reasons. Yeah.
Another person talking about adrenochrome. Bill Schneider talked about it. Lots of people talk about it. Again, Grandmaster Dolan says, "What if it's all true?" It would certainly. Hey, remember how Nick Pope wrote that article about the terrible truth and how the truth is actually really dark and really terrible? I mean, that's one thing that would fit the bill for sure. Paris Diamonds, $5 says, Josh, your moral compass is on the mark of excellence. Thank you, Paris. That's a very kind statement. I appreciate you. Thanks for your support.
Similar topic, children in ages underground. What did you see?
Okay, so I've just seen vats of children. Vats of children in disassociated states. Some crying, some not. Some gone completely. But they use this food source. They use this as to test things out on and used as a food source.
Like
that's for
cannibalism? For meat?
Yes, yeah.
And
also emotion. Okay, so we just the fear energy, and the fear of a child is even more pure energy.
Yes.
For them, a more powerful energy. So to get that from a child is that children is the thing for them.
So he's talking about some pretty dark stuff here. And again, who knows if it's true or not? But like. Children go missing everywhere, constantly. Thousands of children are missing and remain missing. Now, I'm not saying they're being used for adrenochrome, but what I am saying is like, why I find this stuff interesting is because why are they missing and why can't we figure it out? You know, there are also trillions of dollars that are going missing that can't be accounted for. I'm sure just a fraction of that money could probably help solve why these children are going missing. But it's obviously not a priority. Yep, Pizzagate's another whole thing. Again, I'm not saying Pizzagate is true, but it's just another like notch on the board of like, Jimmy Savile was a massive pedophile. We only found out after he died. Jimmy Savile was besties with the royal family. The royal family were photographed with Jeffrey Epstein on Epstein Island. Jeffrey Epstein is a convicted pedophile. Well, not convicted, but, it's probably was. And then you've got him kind of being surrounded by, people in the American political sphere. And then their emails get leaked talking about pizza parties for $20,000 and shit like that. When you start looking at all that stuff and then you realize all these children are missing, it's like, don't want to be the bearer of bad news because I don't know. But like, if I was the controlling power and I knew that like all of that was out there, that definitely alludes to the fact that we're doing creepy shit. If I was innocent, I would probably be spending a lot of money to like clear that shit up and get it fixed and like put people in prison who are spreading this stuff. Because it's a pretty big deal. But instead of that, it just gets ignored. Like, just completely ignored. And the children are still missing. Weird. Again, I don't know. I'll never tell you what it is. I'm just highlighting what looks like some pretty, like, damning anecdotal evidence.
And this is in Dulce.
Dulce?
Dulce?
Yeah, one of many. Yeah.
Who runs Dulce? Because there was a battle in the 60s and humans lost.
Yeah, humans did lose. Yeah, they did. Who runs Dulce now? That's a very good question. I don't know. I know who did. I know the name of somebody who did.
But Zetarticuli.
There was an MI6. The guy who did run. This is not open information. This is like hidden information. A man named Alfred Bonner, who ran from underground MI6, was known as Original Fred at Dulce, and for a time ran Dulce. Now, but that was 90s. 80s, so now I don't know.
And another base
with the scar on his face here, which denotes German aristocracy. I mean, they have the scar down the side of their face, right? Like,
that's interesting. I don't know who the person is he's talking about here, but if you guys watched the stream yesterday, do you remember when Giorgiani was showing? He was showing Danny Jones someone on the podcast. I think it was when he was talking about the fact that there was like a connection from Spain to like Argentina, and that's maybe the pipeline that the Nazis took. But he showed a picture of someone, and he had that big scar on the face. We'd have to go back and look at yesterday's, but that's interesting.
Mengele has. There's another name. It just came to me.
Germans and scars are like broccoli ears of UFC guys. Is this a thing? Is this like a really common thing that Germans have? Can't say I've ever noticed it or really heard about it before, personally.
But I've forgotten it. It'll come back to me.
Okay, Los Alamos.
I mean, yeah, Los Alamos I think Los Alamos is bigger than Dulce now. I think it's probably one of the biggest bases.
And those children, are they kidnapped from?
Yeah, I mean, they're also bred. They also have breeders. They'll have female breeders down
also
there.
slaves.
Yeah, who just are constantly breeding children for them. Thousands of them. And then you've got the ones that are in the foster homes and care homes who no one really cares about. And how many street children are there? Thousands of street children. The main human trafficking, or the main child trafficking center on this planet is Rio de Janeiro. It's where they get most children from. They bring them up through to the US, the UK.
And related topic is Vatican underground.
Yeah.
What happens?
A lot of people are saying dueling scars. The first time I read it, I thought people were just trolling or like making up ideas, but a lot of people seem to be saying it, which is interesting. I had no idea about that. Very interesting.
This kind of...
They're talking about the Vatican now. Sorry, I kind of interrupted that.
Magic. Also with children.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, so we're going back to the point of understanding that they're using children for everything because it's the purest and most powerful energy. So that's their thing. I think that the Vatican principle is run on it's a vampiric consciousness, parasitic vampiric consciousness, and we don't ever. I mean, the Pope is a figurehead,
yes.
and nothing else.
And again, you know how I just had my little rant about, you know, children and going missing and being abused, and I talked about Jimmy Savile and the Royals and Epstein and people in the American political sphere. I mean, let's not forget the Vatican. Let's not forget the Catholic Church. And again, if you're Catholic, don't take it personally, because it's not you. It's not you. You are not that entity, right? This is not you. But let's not ignore the elephant in the room, okay? The amount of controversy surrounding the Vatican and the Catholic Church and the popes. And, you know, we don't really need to talk more about that because I think we know, right? So there are lots of dots that seem to connect and make a lot of sense here.
You mean the white pope, because there is also
the black pope. Absolutely, yes. I don't think either of them are. The one, if you see them on television, they're not in. They don't have any power.
Yes.
Okay, because they don't need to be to have real power. You got to be unseen. Okay, so the Vatican, in terms of the Vatican, it's. I mean, every time I look at any of the rituals that they do in the Vatican, it's just so clearly a satanic ritual. It's unbelievable. They say Satanus in their invocations when they're doing it. I don't understand why people aren't seeing that. I think there's like a spell.
Here we go. They Live. Who watched They Live last night? Listen to what Max is about to say.
Or something done, or thrown over the masses, so they literally just don't hear, or just don't see these things.
They're in a certain state of mind.
Yes, yeah. They're where they're just unable. It's impossible for them to be able to see it, because it's so glaringly obvious to me. I wonder why others can't see it.
We need to get Max a pair of those glasses. No, but seriously, I think what he's explaining is it's like, when you are so caught up in the system and you think that like your political party and voting for them is actually going to make a difference, like when you're of that mindset, okay, when you tune into mainstream news every night and you vote and you go to work and, you know, you think like I'm doing it. I'm doing life. I'm going to get a mortgage. Yeah. Debt for the rest of my life. You know, when you're like thinking like that, that's the spell. I think that is the spell that Max is talking about. But then, and, you know, the spell consumes so much of your mental energy and time, and this is probably by design, that you don't have time to, like, look into a lot of stuff, right? Because once you do, you start realizing that, like, Jimmy Savile was connected to the Royals were connected to Epstein was connected to the American political sphere, the American political sphere connected to the Vatican, and they're all abusing children. You don't have time to look at that kind of stuff, right? And that's probably by design.
There is a short film on YouTube showing that a Polish bishop, right after a ceremony, does this and goes away.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Bang! Look at that. Okay, so you know that this is 666, but it's also the orifice. This is an orifice right here, represents the O. Okay, the negative feminine. Okay.
Do you guys know much about this stuff? Like he's saying, they just showed a clip of the Pope doing this, and Max is saying that this is like an orifice and 666. Is that a thing? I know. Like when you talk about symbolism, often like the celebrities are like doing stuff like that with their eye, you know. But again, I'm so apprehensive to like dive into that. I've always been very apprehensive about like symbolism. Especially, you know, in like Disney, you know, like that's a classic one. The whole, you know, they're putting dicks in Disney movies, right? I don't know about that, but maybe like, you know, is there something to this? Is this actually a thing? I don't know. Let me, you guys, I want to hear your opinions on that one. $14 super chat from John Stonefree, and he says, nothing would surprise me anymore. Love your channel. I'm with you, John. Nothing would surprise me anymore either, mate. If the reptilians come down, I'd be like, hey, I was expecting you guys. You're late. You're supposed to be here 10 minutes ago.
So this is that and the 360.
Okay. And during the normal church ceremony, the priest drinks the blood,
Yeah.
eats the body, and gives the body to the people.
Right.
How would you explain that?
I've always found that so weird, by the way. My personal experience in churches and religion has been limited, and I'll talk about that in the members only video that I do tomorrow. But the whole like eating the bread and like drinking the wine, which is obviously meant to symbolize like the body and blood of Christ, it's like, why do I have to do that? Why is that worshiping him? Can't I just say thanks instead of pretending to eat him and drink his blood? Feels a bit weird.
You mean, how would I explain why they would do that ritual? Okay, the reasoning they give.
Yes.
The reasoning they give is because they are saying that they
Jesus gave away
yes,
himself.
Yes. So if you consume, metaphorically consume him, then you become more like him, right?
Right.
When in fact they're just getting you to participate in the cannibalistic bloodletting ritual. Which is very, very powerful indeed.
And reinforcing their...
It's reinforcing programming. It's a very powerful ritual when you do that. When you drink that for that and you eat, it's very powerful.
Can I just say, with that, like, I mean, again, this is just my opinion. I think it's pretty fair, though. That, like, with what Max is saying, like, I don't think this doesn't, like, this is so far down the road at this point that, like, if you go to your local Catholic church mass and they're doing the bread and the wine, like, they're not actually trying to lure you into secretly worshipping Satan, right? That's not what is, I don't think that's what Max is saying, and I don't think that's how it should be interpreted, in case anyone is. Like, this is at the highest levels. And I think, like, if it's true, by the way, if it's true, of course, but like it's been so long standing and long running that the indoctrination would be so deep that like these people who are running mass, I think that they're doing like the right thing is what I'm getting at. Like, I don't think every church is out there to secretly worship Satan on every corner, right? But I guess what Max is implying is that this is the roots of these ceremonies and these rituals. Like, that's the actual reason behind them, and people doing them unknowingly is part of that plan, right? All right. Now we got a little clip where Max goes into talking about Mars missions and bases. Yep, it gets a little bit weirder somehow.
Mars. Those people on Mars.
There was a project that went on, and certain children were picked. Certain children were picked who had certain DNA, and I was connected with that. And what they did was, when we were like 5 and 6 years old, they took us there, and they trained us, and we did. We learned and we trained and we did all sorts of operations when we were there. I was with the group. There was females there this time though. It was something like 12 males and 8 females. And then there was it wasn't negative. I don't remember it as negative. It was a lot of training. So say from 5 years old to 25 years old was spent there. And I know some of the people now who are back here, but what they did then at the end of the Mars, at the end of that thing, is they used age regression technology, brought us back to 5 years old, and then placed us exactly back to where we were. Now, when I was 5 years old, my parents moved to Los Angeles at the time, out of the blue, and I was living on Sepulveda Boulevard. And the Mars jump rooms for children were on at 999 Sepulveda Boulevard. I now know. So,
does anyone happen to know this area or live near this area, or like, does this ring any bells for anyone? Yeah, Max is talking about 20 and back. He's talking about the 20 and back program, which is, wild, super crazy. But again, it's like, why are all these people independently talking about this weird 20 and back space program? And jump rooms, by the way, jump rooms. Because Nyara, who we looked at yesterday, was talking about jump rooms. And remember when we looked at the breakaway civilizations and those Navy SEAL whistleblowers who saw stuff in Antarctica? They were talking about jump rooms too. And even Robert Dean said there's a portal from Pine Gap to S4. Not exactly a jump room, but like the fact that there is like teleportation technology existing. Why are all these people saying this stuff? Like, I actually find it, again, I'm not saying it's true or I believe them, but I find what I find the least hard to believe is that these people are all independently going crazy and coming up with the same hallucination. I also find it hard to believe that these people are have all like conspired to create the same lie. For what? So like half of YouTube comments can just ridicule them. They're not making money. He died. He died mysteriously, just like Phil Schneider. Why?
And I didn't know, so I had these memories before I knew that this particular information about these Mars jump rooms on Sepulveda Boulevard. Sepulveda Boulevard is in the San Fernando Valley area of Los Angeles, or a suburb of Los Angeles.
So this age regression, 20 years
back to, and also straight back to exactly where you were taken. Mm-hmm. So like no memory whatsoever.
Like nothing happened.
Yes,
and
like
also
nothing happened.
The same.
I think like this 20 and back thing, I mean, obviously it's probably one of the most wild things ever. If it was true, I think like it's got to be some kind of like mental thing that this is happening in their head, right? But could it be also happening like, you know, in another dimension? Like it is actually happening in another dimension, and that dimension is experienced or interfaced with through your mind. Because, I mean, people are pretty comfortable with believing in like astral projection and remote viewing. So what's that? You know, if remote viewing works and it, you know, seems like it's true, how are they doing that? Is there some actual other dimension that is accessible through your mind? So then it is real, but it's not real in this 3D reality or dimension. Again, I'm just throwing theories out there because I feel like there's a lot of lazy thinkers who just go like, 20 and back? No way. Like, I know it's hard to believe, I know. But once you realize that the government have been lying about UFOs and aliens for many, many years, like your door should swing wide open. I mean, stay grounded. Use discernment, but like, are you going to assume like, oh, no, they lied to me about UFOs, but they wouldn't have lied to me about anything else. I'm sure of it. I'm sure they would tell me the truth about everything else. Wake up to yourself.
Jumping back 20 years, about this talks Randy Kramer.
Yes, I didn't know that.
He was a soldier on Mars, and Corey Good also talks about.
I know Boriska because I worked with him.
This Russian boy?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. The war on Mars, thousands of years ago. Yeah. What was it about?
It's the same war that's going on now, and it's
like between reptilians and mammals.
Yeah, yeah. They're never ending, you know, because they are totally opposing genetically. You couldn't get more diametrically opposed beings. They are completely opposite, and to make things worse, this body that we have now was deemed to be the most efficient body to function on surface Earth. But what they did is they for the majority, 99%, is they gave us only two-stream DNA, reptilian and mammalian DNA, which don't fit. So that's why everybody is walking around at odds with themselves inside, because they don't go together.
That's interesting. I'll come to that in a sec. Someone said in the chat that exactly, it's all going on in his head. No offense, but this dude is not credible. I mean, you don't know that, first of all, bro. You're finding it hard to believe, and that's fine because it is hard to believe. But let's just go back to what I said before as well. Even if it is going on in his head, what is that? Why does it feel so real to him? And why are there other people around the world who are having this same experience potentially in their head? And it's all the same. They're all saying they've been to this base on the moon. They're all saying they've been to this base on Mars. Like, again, I'm not saying it's real, but what is that? What is it? Why are all these people saying the same thing? Even if it is happening in their head, are they being targeted with like a psychotronic weapon? Are they all tapping into like some like other state of consciousness that is like accessible but not to everyone? Like what is it? I think just going like it's all happening in his head, not credible. Like that's just lazy thinking. I think it's just too lazy, unfortunately. Yeah, people saying like mental illness, drugs. These are all okay suggestions and theories that I'm not against. But latching onto that because it's the easiest one is just lazy. Yeah, MK Ultra, exactly. This is from the MK Ultra era. We don't really even know like the extent of that, but I'm sure it's pretty deep.
This was done on purpose to maintain the duality, because they don't mix. We're always walking around,
And also the aspect.
Knowing this stuff makes you crazy. Yeah, there's that too. Again, just quickly, he talks about just then how like the reason why we're always kind of at odds with each other is because we are bred with like the genetics of like reptiles and mammals. Like that is our DNA. When I was cutting these clips up, I actually just tried to Google that quickly to say like, because we've all heard that term, like the reptilian part of our brain does X, Y, Z. We've all heard that. Well, I looked it up, and not that I necessarily believe in everything on Google, but it says like we don't actually have a reptilian part of our brain. It's more of like there are parts in our brain that are similar to reptiles, but it's not like directly we actually have like reptilian genetics, right? It's not that. But what's interesting, and this is really interesting, I thought, is that the part of our brain that is similar to reptiles, the part that is referenced as our like reptilian brain is the part of our brain that's responsible for instinct. What is instinct? Instinct is like just a knowing. It's like a knowledge that exists. It's just like pre-installed software, sorry. Like humans are actually a bad example because we don't know shit when we're born. We're useless. We would just die. But like animals, when they're born, like they sort of know what to do a little bit. They kind of know what they need to do to survive and kind of like get their food and have a drink. We're pretty useless on that front. But it's interesting, right? That the part of our brain that is similar to reptiles is our instinct, our like embedded knowledge set.
Of male and female.
Yes.
The reptilians don't have that.
Yeah, because they did that to split. Originally, how did they procreate? The split from male to female was to give the desire of sexuality to like
to be complete.
Yes, yeah. Because when a male and female get together in that way, it creates a third energy. If it's done but if it's inverted, you can create like extremely negative power. If sexuality is done with violence or anger, or it can be used very, very, very negatively. If it's done with love and compassion and kindness, it's the most powerful energy in the universe. They know this. That's why all the stuff they do is with sex magic. And Crowley introduced and refined sex magic in the 20th century.
And this negative sexual.
Yep. Crowley, Jack Parsons, those guys were like literally reciting mid-century Latin incantations and jacking off onto stone tablets. And I'm not kidding. They were literally... sorry. I was going to get real... I won't say that. But yeah, they were doing some shit.
Reality is also like kind of a betrayal, which breaks the heart.
Absolutely. So each thing that they do is another offshoot of an attack on the heart. Everything they're doing is an attack on the heart. It's very calculated. It's very contrived. It's slowly sticking pins here until they take it over, which they're not going. They already lost. They already lost. So the storyline is over, but we're just playing it out.
So when?
I don't know times.
Did they lose? But
when
they lost on Mars?
Well, first of all, if you remember, there is no such thing as time.
Okay.
So it's critical that you understand that.
They lost, so why do they still play that?
Because they like it.
Okay. They like the game.
Yes. This down here, they even call it the game.
Uh-huh.
Do you know why? Because there's nothing like pleasures of the flesh. There's nothing else there's no other incarnation in this universe where you can get the pleasures you can. I mean, you say that people say that in these higher frequencies, the feelings that you get are bliss. But if you're in a physical 3D flesh body and you're also experiencing these things, there isn't anything comparable to it. So they like it. So what they want to do is they want to keep this body, stay in this body for eternity, and have a 1,000-year Reich that is coming up of peace, and then start the war again, and start war again for 1,000 years, and then stop and have peace for 1,000 years. And that's how they want to do it, continually. Yeah, and not age, because if they age and die, then they have to then they have to face some things that they've done.
All right, we've got a couple of little bonus clips that we're going to look at here before we wrap up the show, but I'm just going to get to a couple of your comments first. Rambro, thank you for being here, man. Appreciate you. Simon says, true, Josh, I don't know for sure, but I'm just not finding this guy credible. It's like he's read everything he's saying, and that's all. Peace, brother. I get that. I think someone else made a comment after you, kind of saying like, T-Bone Slim says you can't remember all these details if you're lying. I agree with that. I agree that I don't, again, when we talk about lying, we're talking about didn't happen in 3D reality that we all share. What I think is an option that needs to be considered and kept on the table is that this happened in some kind of like mental construct, be it interdimensional or whatever. I don't know. Like that has to be an option. So does that mean he's lying? No, he's telling the truth. He's relaying his own experience. Is it something that we could like verify with our eyes and have evidence for? No. That complicates things, right? It really complicates things. But I get it. I do massively get it. Blood magic is primitive. The trick and how the angels do it is with love and knowledge. Yeah, well, I don't think we looked at the clip, but Max does talk about the fact that sex, magic, and sexual energy is the most powerful energy in the world, right? And when you channel it correctly and when you use it correctly, it can be extremely like connecting between two people. It can be extremely powerful, but it can also be extremely damaging. And according to Max, that's why children are abused by these, global elite, apparently, because it's like the most powerful negative energy to elicit adrenochrome. That's not me saying that. I'm relaying what Max says in a clip that I don't think we watched, but it makes sense, right? And then there's the teachings about like Kundalini teachings, which I've kind of been looking into a little bit recently. I'm finding it really interesting. If anyone in the chat knows a bit about Kundalini, get in our Discord and drop your knowledge. Because what I find interesting is, if our sexual energy really is like a life, like an essence, right? It's like a power source. It would make sense if everything we have heard in today's stream is real and that we actually are in some kind of like control system trying to keep us in a low vibrational state. That would explain why porn is so accessible and why OnlyFans is glorified, because it keeps dudes jacking off all the time and just dumping their life energy source, dumping their like testosterone levels. So dudes are just kind of like lazy and kind of like, life's kind of hard, but I really can't be fucked doing anything about it. I just blew my load. I'm chilling. I'm not going to fix anything. But then you go back like, I don't know, 40, 50 years ago when like sex wasn't everywhere. For the most case, women behaved differently. And that's like not a shot against women at all. That's just like the society that we live in today. And it was just a different time. Men were different. Women were different. And it's like, would the men of those times accepted things the way men of today do? Because men of today are just like deprived of their life essence, right? If we're still talking about sexual energy, is that why it's literally just being like dumped out of us by design? I don't know. That's just a theory. Like I said, I've been looking into Kundalini a little bit recently. And I find it really interesting. I really do think there's something to it. I mean, you hear all the time about boxers and combat athletes not having sex or whatever before their fights. I don't know if that's more of like a testosterone thing, but I definitely think there is something to your sexual energy being like a creative force and a creative energy, and that if you retain it, you are more like dialed in. That's just my own opinion there. We could look at this clip. How long is it?
What about trans?
Yeah, okay. We'll watch this, and then we've got one more clip. That's a really good place to finish. And then we're all going to be going into Discord to watch The Matrix. So if you haven't joined, the link is below. It's open to everyone. The members get their own area. The members also get members-only videos, and I'm going to make a new members-only video talking about my experience with religion and kind of giving you a few theories about like religion and reality. I'm actually really excited to make that one. But let's listen to Max being asked about transhumanism, because I think this is really important right now. Again, this is before Max was mysteriously found dead. This is like 2016, maybe, give or take. And just think about what he's talking about in the context of today, Peter Thiel, Neuralink, AI, etc.
Humanism, kind of jumping topics a little bit now. You know, that there's a lot of people out there in the media promoting it, saying it's going to enhance humanity and, you know, selling it basically. I'm highly skeptical of it. I don't think that it's good for the human body to insert, you know, metal devices or implants or parts into it. I think it's ultimately going to lead to ill health, disease, and death. Yeah. You know, yeah. Do you want to comment on this whole push towards transhumanism?
That's connected to the war that's been going on between the scientists and the priests. And
the audio's shit, I know. If it's too shit, let me know. I'll skip it and we'll go to the next clip. Just let me know. It's only 3 minutes.
I think that the more you separate from self, and the more you separate away from like divine self or heart self, the more easily controlled you are. So if you make a fusion of a machine and man together, then you take away, you're pushing yourself further away from heart. So it separates from that, and I think that's the reason for it. It's almost like humanity, in its present sense, has outgrown its use for what it was used for. It's not doing what it's supposed to do. They're not happy with how it is, so they want to use as much technology in human beings as possible, so that they can more easily be controlled. I think a lot of people don't realize they're chipped at this point. And I think when there was mass vaccinations going on, there's nanotechnology that's in vaccinations that's been added to people, so that they can be tracked that way. And I think even it's like a stepping stone thing. I mean, even with cell phones. When everybody then carried a cell phone, and everybody has GPS, and everybody is tracked that way. That was the beginning of it. And I've even heard that I know that they had the technology to do this already, but they're trying to sell the concept. Google already downloaded in nanotech chip into your head, so that you can pull that up at any time to get information. Well, then, you've got to think about who's giving the information. And so then you become reliant on something else and you don't think for yourself. And it separates, eventually what will happen is the
You become to rely on something else and you can't think for yourself, or you don't think for yourself. Sounds familiar, Max.
The first, so the conscious, the original consciousness, the original thing that came here and inhabited the body in the first place, will just step out and it won't be there anymore. So you'll have
your consciousness will slip out and won't be there anymore. That's wild. I'm going to stop that clip there because honestly, I'm finding it hard to hear it, which is why I'm kind of repeating it for you guys. But this next clip is only 2 minutes. And this is actually Nyara, who we looked at yesterday. Okay, I found another old clip of her. And this is just a really nice place for us to finish because it's a really positive note. And she also talks about the Matrix, which is what we're about to watch. So I'm excited. Get in Discord if you haven't already. Hit a like on the stream if you haven't. Let's wrap it up with a good one.
Realizing that the cabal or the Illuminati or whatever you want to call them, they keep us fighting with each other intentionally because they know that the potential in our unified consciousness, should we ever come together and stop fighting with each other, is extremely powerful. And they have been using that energy against us, like farming and managing our consciousness in such a way that we spin out a version of reality from the thoughts they program into us that makes the Matrix, just like in the Matrix films. And so we have made the Matrix that's our prison. We made it from our consciousness and our thought that's been managed, farmed, programmed, and controlled. And if that's true, then we have the power within ourselves to come together and stop fighting with each other and remake the world. And emotion is key. We're not taught anything about how to deal with our emotions in this world. It's like a big black hole, and we just spurt emotional energy all over the place like an out-of-control garden hose.
Imagine if humanity was taught about like meditating, how to process emotions, how to like empathy, how to be kind to one another, how to have understanding for people who were brought up in different cultures and have different belief systems. Imagine if we were taught that instead of like algebra and like, I don't know, other stuff that's probably just fake and gay anyway.
You know, would we waste money like that in most cases? Would we waste gasoline in our car that way? No. Well, we need to look at our emotional energy the same way because that's the big key. And we have powerful emotions as human beings. And that means a lot of emotional power. But the only way we can wield it is to come together and find our commonalities and build on those and stop looking at our ideologies that might divide us and our beliefs that might divide us. We've got to come together. We've got to focus on the fact we're all human beings. We all have hearts and souls and conscience. And we need to look at what brings us together. And then we need to take the emotional energy of that love and connection and make that really, really powerful and then release it intentionally in waves of consciousness, energy, and power that can remake this world and the matrix it's based on in ways that we want for ourselves, for our children, for our grandchildren, for all the animals in the environment. We can remake it just through the power of consciousness. We can get full disclosure just through the power of consciousness. But we can only wield this energy together, and we can only wield it with love for each other and the planet.
Boom. What a mic drop. What a great way to finish the show tonight, guys. And I mean, I just love everything she said there. I think it's so true. I think it's so real. I wish it was just as easy as saying it to get people to understand it, because I really think that is the answer. That is the way. And that's the only way that things could go to a net positive at the end of this all, right? That's the only way things are going to go to a net positive. But maybe by doing live streams like this and building communities like this, we're doing that. We're slowly doing it, one weirdo at a time. I hope we are anyway. That's the goal. That's the goal of what I'm trying to do. Just a quick comment I'll read out before we wrap up. Moldy Potions. We hear so much about aliens being non-emotional. I think human emotions might be really important in this whole system. Brother, I think you are correct. I think you are correct, because that is what makes us human. Our empathy, our understanding, our emotions is almost the only thing different between us and Grok. Okay, so stop asking Grok is this real? Because Grok doesn't have your best interests at heart, okay? You know what does? Your intuition. But you got to meditate to be able to hear it, all right? You got to get outside, touch grass to recognize that voice that's telling you the path, showing you the way to go. Guys, get in Discord. We're going to watch The Matrix. It's going to be a lot of fun. Maybe in about 10 minutes, it'll be playing. So get in there. I hope you've had a good stream. I hope you had fun, learned something. Drop a like if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Take care.
People are going to say, what the hell is going on?
No matter how far you go into the dark, when you flip, you go exactly the same place to the light in our galaxy. Everything. Because everything is in balance. Everything is a polarity.
I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about